I stood in an elevator at Seasons the other day. I swear I hit the button and there was like 3 other people in the elevator with me, and we were just waiting and waiting, and I was like, "Oh, no one hit the button."
All
It was awkward and great.
right, we're live streaming.
Perfect. Okay. Good morning and welcome to the July 22nd, 2026 meeting of the ERCA Executive Committee. I will call this meeting to order. Today we have regrets from Tanya Jobin. All right. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that this land is the traditional territory of the Three Fires Confederacy of First Nations, comprised of the Ojibwe, the Odawa, and the Potawatomi peoples. We value the significant historical and contemporary contributions of land and regional First Nations and all of the original people of Turtle Island, North America, who have been living and working on the land from time immemorial. Please raise your hand if you can indicate any members who might declare a conflict of interest. Seeing none, I need a motion that the agenda for the July 22nd, 2026 meeting of the ERCA Executive Committee be approved. Moved by
Move it.
Jim Morrison, seconded by Kieran McKenzie. Any opposed? And that's approved. Okay. We have hearings today scheduled this morning. As a result, I require a motion that the Executive Committee sit as a hearing board in respect to an application under Section 28.1 of the Conservation Authorities Act. Moved by
Larry, do you move it?
Kira McKenzie moved and seconded by Jim Morrison. Any opposed? And that carries. We are now going to conduct a hearing under Section 28.1 of the Conservation Authorities Act in respect to one application. We, as a hearing board, are unaware of the matters being brought forward, and we are only now receiving and reviewing the information provided by staff on this day. The Authority Administration regulations under Part 6 of the Conservation Authorities Act, which requires the permission of the authority to end authority for development within an area regulated by the authority in order to ensure no adverse effects on the control of flooding, erosion, dynamic beaches, or unstable soils or bedrock, or the permit alteration to a shoreline or watercourse, or interfere with a wetland. The staff has reviewed the proposed works, and a copy of the staff report has been given to the applicant. The Conservation Authorities Act, Section 28.1, subsection 3, provides that an authority shall not refuse an application or permit or attach conditions to a permit unless the applicant for the permit has been given an opportunity to be heard by the authority. In holding these hearings, the authority board is to determine whether or not the permit is to be issued. In doing so, we can only consider the application in the form that is before us, the staff report, such evidence that may be given, and the submissions that may be made on behalf of each applicant. The proceedings will be conducted according to the Statutory Powers Procedures Act under Section 5, the Canada Evidence Act. A witness may refuse to answer any question on the ground that the answer may tend to criminate that person or may tend to establish his or her liability to a civil proceeding at the instance of the Crown or any other person. The procedure in general shall be informal. However, this is a quasi-judicial process and provides the evidence to be given in response to members' questions. Therefore, staff and applicants will be asked to swear an oath or provide an affirmation to speak the truth. In accordance with the Act, an applicant who has been refused permission or who objects to the conditions imposed on a permission may appeal the decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal, who may refuse the permission or grant permission with or without conditions. If the applicant has any questions to ask the hearing board or authority representatives, they must be directed to the chair of the board. As a reminder, the hearings will be conducted in accordance with the approval hearing guidelines. We, as a hearing board, will question, if necessary, both the staff and the applicant agent. Before I ask Dan Jenner, Regulations Coordinator, to introduce applications, I would like to ask that he swear an oath or provide an affirmation to speak the truth for the duration of the hearing board.
Affirmation, please.
Do you solemnly affirm that the evidence in which you are about to give in these proceedings will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you?
I do.
Okay, Mr. Jenner, please proceed with the first application.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As noted, we do only have one application for permit before the hearing committee this morning, made by Brandon Orloic, and located in the city of Windsor at 836 Greendale Drive. Next slide, please. So we can see here we are just on the west side of Little River, south of Wyandotte Street, with the property highlighted in blue. Next slide, please. So ERCA staff have received application for permit file number 1181-26 for an alteration to an existing structure to create an additional dwelling unit. That structure being the detached garage. So it'll be converted into a new dwelling unit on the property. We are seeking relief from the access, ingress, and egress policy requirements. Next slide, please. As mentioned, we are west of Little River with an ERCA floodproofing elevation of 176.0 meters, which includes the freeboard component. The ERCA minimum road elevations are 175.4 meters, and the provincial minimum road elevation is 175.2 meters. Next slide, please. You can see here in the image to the left, there is a small section of roadway that is approximately 6 inches below the provincial minimum. And the remainder of the access route is above the provincial minimums, corresponding to at most 0.34 meters below the ERCA minimum. This area is fully developed and the roadways are fully delineated. And emergency first responders at the City of Windsor are very aware of the low-lying nature of the area. They have updated emergency plans, and we are well within that 0.7 meter threshold that they have established for this area. The structure itself already meets the minimum flood protection requirements for a dwelling unit, and we are satisfying all of those regulatory requirements. And so with that, next slide, please. We are recommending that the application be approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jenner. Does the applicant wish to provide evidence in support of their application?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. So the motion is on the screen. Can I get a mover? Sorry, Kieran's off the, yep, moved by Kieran, seconded by Jim Morrison. Any opposed? And that carries. Okay, and moving right along. Thank you. Okay, so now we are moving a motion that the hearing board reconvene as an executive committee. Can I get a mover?
Move it.
Okay, moved by Jim Morrison, seconded by Karen McKenzie. Any opposed? And that carries. Perfect. Okay, and now we're on to the Hillman Marsh Wetland Restoration and Climate Adaptation Phase 1, and Kevin Money will be speaking to this.
Thank you, Chair. Today we're going to be opening up tenders related to Hillman Marsh Conservation Area. The Conservation Authority has been engaged in a very significant restoration project at Hillman Marsh as it relates to the restoration of the main open marsh and the associated barrier beach. This is the second phase of work associated with this project. And is a substantial project. The total value of the grant funding associated within this fiscal year is about $2.4 million. And we'll see what the tenders come in at. If the tendered amounts exceed that, the Conservation Authority has reserved the right to negotiate and remove things from the contract. So we'll see how the actual tenders work out. Okay. Joining me today is Seth Logan. Seth is the project engineer in case there's any technical questions with us. Okay. So I'm going to proceed with opening the tenders. And I believe Nicole is going to share them. There were 4 tenders received. The first one is from Jones Group. Bid bond is received. Sorry, it's a large document, so it just takes me a moment to get to the bottom. Okay, the tender document is complete. Total top value, excluding HST, is $9,875,000. Second one is from FACA Incorporated. The bond is in place. Total tender price is $13,998,650, excluding HST. Security deposit is in place. The tender is from Nevin Construction. Bonds in place. That total value is $9,777,775. That's correct. Thank you, Nicole. The final bid is from South Shore Contracting.
Sorry, Kevin, with respect to Nevin, security deposit is in place?
Yes, it is.
Bonds in place.
South Shore Contracting, bid bond is in place. Documents are signed and sealed. Total value is 648,000. Sorry, 8 million. Let me back up.
We had a winner there.
8,000,000.
You had me for a second.
One more time, Kevin, with that number, please.
Yeah, what Nicole has produced is accurate. So 8,648,000.
I was so excited for a second.
So, thank you.
All right. Okay, thank you, Nicole, for adjusting that. I just have to change my screen. Okay, so that being said,
Just
the
a
motion,
question, Madam Chair. What was the amount that we had guaranteed from the government?
Kevin?
$2.4 million. The engineer's estimates associated with this particular work are far below any of these amounts. So this is quite surprising for both myself and probably the project engineer. So we need to take a look at this, but as noted, there are provisions within the actual tender documents that allow us to not proceed at all, to recalibrate, etc.
Amend for phasing.
Yeah, so now we're going into review of the actual amounts and the fine detail associated with these amounts from the contractors.
So Kevin, like we're so far off here, like my initial thinking here is we don't know what we're gonna have to reduce here to try to get it in, and maybe not the lowest bidder might be able to handle that better than the lowest bidder. So, I'm thinking that we need to go back to the drawing board, I think, on this whole project. But I'm looking for other we do have Seth here, it looks like. I don't know if there's good comments that could help me on that issue.
Seth, do you like to make some comments, please?
Sure. There's an important aspect of this that is phasing, right? So this tender was a 2-year tender. The budget that Kevin has mentioned is the first year. So there's that to take into consideration. The other thing is there's a substantial component of this, which is about moving sediment, moving sand, sand that we don't have in the full estimated volume yet, which may not end up being a part of the tender, or part of the eventual construction. The structural components to this, I had estimated at, we'll call it 60 to 70% of the low bid. And what's left of that was made up in my estimate by the sand movement, which is the sand nourishment component, which is a very big unknown. So it's higher than I expected. Even the low bid is higher than I expected. Over the 2 years of the project, it's not that much higher than I expected, just to be clear. And I have those numbers willing to, I can certainly share them. I'm just not sure if this is the platform or not. So please let me know.
So yeah, Seth is correct. The 2.4 is what we have budgeted for this season, and he's correct in reminding me that this is a 2-year project. So we have another, I think it's another $2 million at least budgeted for next year as well, already guaranteed by the federal government. So, and there's more potential funding from the province. So yeah, so we don't want to jump ship. We need to review all the numbers and proceed accordingly.
So from my understanding, oh, pardon me, Tim, just give me a second. From my understanding, we approve this, the lowest tender, and then we go back to the negotiations and work it through.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted everyone to understand
that. Seth, how far off an engineer's estimate and what have you, when a tender comes in, are we in a position to accept or deny?
Sorry, I'm not sure I understand the question, Tim. What do you mean by that?
If we're that far off an engineer's estimate with tenders that come in, we are in a position to just say we're not going to accept.
Yes, I don't think we're that far off, to be honest with you. My engineer's estimate is about 1.5 million less than the low bid. So it's not as, and that's including the sand nourishment component, which may or may not end up being a part of the project. So I don't think we're far enough off to be.
Okay, so our recommendation for a full administrative review is accurate and adequate for the purposes of proceeding.
Yes, yeah, I think so.
Okay, wonderful. Is there any other questions?
Yeah, I got a few questions here. So I'm really uncomfortable with this. I think I need more information, some of the stuff, Seth, that you're talking about. And I'm not sure that this is the correct place for that full conversation to happen. So from a rules perspective, with respect to the tendering processes, I don't know what options are available for us, even if deferral was something that we could do and bring it back in the context of a conversation after I've had an opportunity to review some of the information set that you're talking about. But if I'm telling you right now, it's a no for me. until I see something that's more convincing that we can make up the difference. I want to understand what's the potential with our potential funding partners, whether it's, I heard the province. I think this is a project that we're in partnership with the First Nations as well. So is there opportunities there? So I don't have that information in front of me. I think we're way off. Even if it's $1.5 million, that's a lot of money for us, regardless. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Folks can respond, but I don't like this I don't like where we are right now.
Through you, Chair, can I try to respond to that?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
Councillor McKenzie, I appreciate the comments. Ultimately, we knew when we started this project that the amount of funding that we have from the province, as well as the federal government, was less than what it would take to build this entire project. This is a phased project, and we knew from the very beginning about that. Our goal is to scope out a project, complete a project at the best of our ability with the funding that we have available. With tendered prices, we now can take a look at the low bid values and essentially adjust what we actually build and stay within the budgeted amounts that we have. So there's no obligation to accept and move forward with a project that we don't have funds for. We simply scale back the project to do what we can within the budget that we have.
Let's amend the recommendation then. Can you bring up the recommendation, please, Nicole? The recommendation needs to be that the tender be awarded to the current budget limit.
Does that make everyone more comfortable?
Well, then that means the 800 or 8 million, 8.6 needs to not, it can't be in the, because that isn't the current budget.
Correct. Correct. Our current budget limit is what? What's our upper number?
It's about $2.4 million in this fiscal, and I'd have to check about next year. Typically it's done at the negotiation stage, where we review our budgets and say this is actually how much work you're going to actually be awarded in the actual contract. So this is the establishment of unit rates and costs with the low bid, and then during contract negotiations, that's when we would typically work out the actual amount of work that's actually going to be completed. So what we can do is say that it can be awarded to South Shore. Maybe we just remove the total amount.
Remove the total amount.
Would that be appropriate?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, because it already says subject to favorable review.
Yeah.
Okay, does that make everyone happy? Any questions
Yeah,
or
I mean,
concerns?
it's certainly way better. It's still, like I say, it's kind of, like I say, I don't know if we should be nailing
I'd like for
it
it to come
down a
back to
little.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jim. I'd like for it to come back to the exec.
Sure.
All right.
I don't want to stand in the way of this, and maybe let me, and again, really sorry, Jim, but like, I understand there's timelines involved too. So there's things that we want to do, not only just on this project, but on just the whole landscape of what's happening with the Conservation Authority. So this is an important project to me as well. But the financials are so far off. I also have to respect my own due diligence. So
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so
all right. I like that. That I can support.
perfect. Okay, so Kieran,
Good.
would you like to move that?
I'll move it.
Okay, and seconded by Jim Morrison.
So I'll support it, I guess.
Thank you. Any opposed? And that carries. All
Thank you,
right. And
committee.
then I'm being fully transparent right now. I have about 10% left on my battery and I can't find my charger. So Kevin Money will be speaking to the next tender. And if I disappear, my apologies.
Yeah, through you, Chair, the Conservation Authority or administration provided you with a brief report outlining a tender that was preliminarily awarded to South Shore Contracting. At this juncture, unfortunately, the landowner of the property is not willing to have South Shore Contracting on their property. The details of this are outlined in the actual report. And as such, we are recommending that we actually move forward with the second lowest bid associated with this particular work. These amounts are both, well, it is actually below the projected amount and below the budgeted amount from Environment Canada. Environment Canada has reviewed all this information and they have no concerns with it as the funder for this particular project. Happy to respond to any questions.
Okay, are there any questions? Seeing none, the motion's there. Can I get a mover? Moved by Karen McKenzie, seconded by Jim Morrison. Any opposed? And that carries. Okay. Is
Thank
there
you,
any
committee.
new business members wish to raise? Seeing none, the next meeting of the ERCA Board of Directors will be held on Thursday, September 10th, starting at 6 p.m. in Council Chambers. And as this concludes the business of the Executive Committee, at this time, I need a motion that the July 22nd meeting of the Essex Region Conservation Authority Committee be adjourned. Moved by Karen McKenzie. Oh, Jim Morrison, seconded by Karen
I'm
McKenzie.
quick on that one, okay?
Any